So it is finally the day. My large rise garden is here and I get to set it up and you guys get to watch. And this is an exciting day because this means we can grow more hydroponically, which, as we all know, is a great thing when you want to become more self-sufficient and reduce your reliance on the grocery store. Plus it means I can grow, plus it means I can grow when it's like Arctic tundra outside and freezing cold because I'm in Zone 5B in Ontario and it gets cold here in the winter. Let's get this thing set up. I'm going back in my fort. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kiri and I'm a micro homesteader in Zone 5B in Ontario, Canada. And on this channel, we talk about all things micro homesteading, from growing food outdoors as well as growing food indoors hydroponically, and other ways you can become more self-sufficient and reduce your reliance on the grocery store. So if that is your thing or you would like that to be your thing, then go ahead and hit subscribe and the notification bell down there somewhere so you won't miss out on any videos in the future. I got one of the new large rise gardens and I'm super excited. So I'm gonna just kind of go through the whole setup of my system. I already have one of the personal rise gardens. I have that downstairs right now, but I'm gonna be moving it up to this room, which is in the middle of getting done. It is my new office / growing room. So there's all sorts of plants already over there. Some edible, some not. I just thought I would show you guys how to set it up, what comes in the box. We'll see how difficult it is. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little overwhelmed with how many boxes there are. It seems like a lot more than what came with my AeroGarden farm, but we'll persevere and figure it out. And then hopefully behind me in the old closet, there will be my fantastic new garden. The personal rise garden that I have downstairs, I call the low rise. So this one I will call the high rise. Very witty of me, I know. This is the image of the base model. This is the highest growing space you can get. I bought the 2-tier garden, so I have an extra add-on level. And that's kind of the nice thing I like about this, is you can add more levels as you go. Something I want to call out right away is in the separate box that came with the add-on unit, there is another set of instructions. Very important. It says right here, do not use this unless you're adding on and you've already set it up. Because I'm doing this for the first time, I'm gonna follow these instructions, and these ones, we'll get rid of those. Important thing to know, because it does come in a separate box, so don't start using the wrong instructions. One of the first things it says in the instructions is to go through the whole parts list here to empty all the boxes and make sure that you have everything. So I'm gonna start out doing that and make sure that everything is here. So in the main big box, I got this, which is my base unit. So there's all sorts of stuff in there, water bin, and then there's more stuff on that side. So, and electronics and everything, we will get into that. Also in the big box, I got this, which is the top, and it looks like the wooden legs. And in this one, we have the water tray and some plumbing. And then the extra separate box, this was for the extension. This had my nursery, and in here, there were all the nut pots and all the seeds and the nutrients and everything. I also have the decks that'll go in the grow bowl where the nut pods will go. So I was exploring in the cabinet and I found another box. This box has another nursery net with more nut pods. And also I do have my sensor, which is all wrapped up. I'll get that in a second. And I got more of the nutrients and more of the seeds. So yay. I'm going to keep exploring the boxes. I think I'm pretty much done now. I got one more flat box in there to pull out. I'll go over the bounty. I have 2 of the nurseries. I have 36 of the nut pods. I have 2 of the 40-day herb mixes, 4 of the salad mix, 2 of the variety packs, 2 pH balance, 2 Thrive, 2 Sprout. I do have my sensor and extra batteries. There's 2 bags. I put the other one over here. So this one's for the main one. This is for the extension, and it has my hole covers, my screws, Allen wrench. I have a little antenna there. Pretty much the same thing in the other one, except it doesn't have the antenna. These are the extension wood pieces. I have my water jug, the base trays for the lower level. That is actually where the water meter is going to go. I have my water pan and my pump is in there with the lid. Those are my other trays for the extension. I have my power units, all my extension hardware, the long and the short. Because I'm doing the only the 2-level garden, I'm going to be using the long. If you're building a 3-level garden, you're also going to use the short. I have the supply conduit and the drain conduit, the flexible supply line with the 90-degree turn. And I even have another one of the nurseries that kind of got out of control. That one was from my personal rise garden. Those were supposed to go in this unit, but then I took my sweet ass time putting it together. So they just kind of grew there, and they even have peppers on them. So yeah, that happened. But we have lots more to grow in here. So next step is actually starting to put this thing together. I feel the need to call this out. So don't plug it into the wall until it is all done. And of course, step number 1 is to attach the side brackets to the base cabinet. So all the stuff I just put on top of the base cabinet, gotta move it. So good start, Kiri. So step 1 actually becomes moving all the stuff I put on top. I am one of the ambassadors for the Rise Garden. So this one I saved up all my pennies and I bought it on my own because I really like them. There is a link down below in the description for $50 off any of the big gardens if you feel the need to use it. Okay, so that is cleared off and I am going to start and attach these to the garden. And I guess I'm not screwing them all the way in first. So I guess these are gonna go on like this, and then that's the bottom. So we need to lift it up a little bit to get it off the floor. So I was seeing what they were saying to do, but I was curious why. And then I looked around here on the cabinet. So they need to stick out so they can kind of lift up and then slide in. The other thing that's important is to hand tighten before using the Allen wrench. I'm assuming that is because we do not want to cross thread these. So just get these screwed in and see how far they go. Okay, so they will start going in further, so we'll just back it off a bit, leave it like that. And then I'm assuming once we get this attached in the unit, we'll use the Allen key afterwards to tighten it all the way. That is my theory. And if you're wondering why that looks like that, and why that wall looks lovely and those walls look crappy, that is because when you're painting walls white, which I haven't gone back to white, it takes a lot of coats. So that is 2 whole coats on there. And then I realized that I'm gonna need a whole other can of paint, but I wanted to get this done. So I took out the floor there because I'm getting rid of the carpet, and use up the last of the paint to do 4 coats in the closet so I can get this bad boy in. And then when I'm done painting, I will rip out the carpet. This room's gonna look fantastic when it's done. There's gonna be some fake shiplap there, but yes, design aspirations. But back to the garden. Okay, so given that I'm by myself, we're gonna prop my phone there and see, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So what I'm gonna do is put the leg here. I'm gonna lift this up and slide it in on both sides. And that's it. Now I'm gonna do the other side. All right, so we are off the ground. Now that they're in, we're gonna tighten them down and put in the other ones at the top. And then that should keep these arms secure on there. And then over here, I can get in the other ones. And then once they're all in, I'll tighten them down with the Allen key. So I was actually finding it hard to tighten those the way they said to do it, like just putting them in from the inside. So what I was actually doing was lifting it up a bit with my foot underneath, so it took the tension off a bit. And though in doing that, I seem to have knocked out the back one, so I'm gonna have to get that back in. I'm wondering if it just would have been easier to put them all in first. Maybe I'll try that on the other side. I took this side back off again, and I'm gonna try the other way of putting these in first. Definitely found that easier, putting the 4 screws in first and then lifting the metal cabinet on top. And then now I'm gonna go and tighten them up with the Allen key. So you've got your electronics here and here. So just be careful when you're working around there because you don't wanna damage anything in here. And don't forget, righty tighty, lefty loosey. And yes, as a grown woman, I do still use that. And when I spell Wednesday, I always in my head go Wed-nez-day. I do, it's okay. So when I'm doing these, I was finding that it's much easier at the beginning to start tightening with this. Is it the long way because it's much easier to turn. And then at the end, when you really need to tighten it down, go switch to this way so that you have more leverage to tighten it properly. So next step is to get the metal base tray on, and we're gonna do the same thing in the lower one of the holes, and we're gonna do the same thing. So I'm assuming it's gonna fit on in the same way. We're gonna notch it in and then tighten them down afterwards. But apparently it's not always righty tighty, lefty loosey, because apparently the pedals on a bike go on the other way. I just learned that recently. So you can't always rely on it, but it's a good rule of thumb. So those guys are on there sticking out a little bit. Once you're at this step, do not jump ahead, slide on the metal tray, and start putting in the other screws and tighten it all down. Because I just did that. And I forgot to put this piece in and this piece in, which is clearly stated in the instructions, but I somehow got distracted and just did what I thought I needed to do, which was wrong. Just set it down. When you're putting it down, try and go down even. Mine got wedged a little bit and it got stuck, so I had to bring it back up and then put it down. So it just sits on the bottom there, and then we're gonna put the other screws in the top and then tighten them all down. So far it's pretty easy going together. I said I was overwhelmed at the beginning, and I was, but when I actually started doing it, it's not so bad. So another thing, just make sure to finger tighten them first, because I did need to lift this up a little bit to get that other screw in there. And if I had tightened that guy down all the way, it would have been a lot harder to do. And one thing I like to do when I'm done tightening them is just kind of go back around and just make sure that nothing's loosened off. I've been wanting to get this larger Rise Garden for such a long time. I've had the AeroGarden Farm Plus down in the basement for a long time, but it just doesn't use the space as efficiently, and there's a lot less space. So I have about 24 openings in the Farm Plus in the same space that on the large Rise Garden I have 12. I don't ever end up using all 24 on the Plus, and not even close to 24, because otherwise everything is way too crowded. So one of the things that really drew me to this company and this model was the fact that everything had more space to breathe, because plants being clumped too close together is never good. The amount of stuff I'm going to be able to grow year round now, that's huge for me, because now I'll have the 2-tier Rise Garden plus the personal Rise Garden, plus I have the 2 AeroGarden sprouts plus the AeroGarden Farm Plus. The goal is to really, during the winter months, be able to cut down on my grocery bill and have lettuce and herbs and peppers and tomatoes, and I'm going to try onions, and have all of that stuff growing inside so that I don't have to buy it from the store. It's going literally from my office to the kitchen, and it's going to be way more nutritious. There's a lot less pest issues that you have to deal with. Now, that is not saying that you can't end up with pests in an indoor garden. I have seen people in my groups that, like, especially down in Florida and stuff, that have had mosquitoes get in, which I imagine would be an absolute nightmare because they would breed in the water of the hydroponic environment. You can have aphids, you can have thrips, which I ran into. You can have, though I brought those in, so I did that to myself, and I'm gonna do a separate video on that because it was just daft on my part. You can get whitefly, you can get fungus gnat. Like there's all sorts of things you can have. So it's not to say that growing indoors is going to be perfect and pest free, but it does reduce a lot of the pest pressures. That said, if you have them, they're in your house, so that can put some people off, but so far for me, it's not outweighed anything. I have loved being able to grow the stuff. I find the lettuce outside gets ravaged by slugs, and I've tried to put in slug traps and things like that, but it's a lot. I'm also going to use it for some seed saving because I don't have to worry about the cross pollination if it's inside. Being a micro homesteader, space is always a challenge, whether it's, you know, starting to grow vertically, or in my case, adding in hydroponics, which I honestly wish so many more micro homesteaders would do it. It extends your growing season. It can, like I said, reduce the pest damage. It just opens up a whole new world. So I'm gonna just be sharing some videos as it grows. And like I said, talking about some of the things like succession planting and all the things you can grow. I'm gonna push the boundaries because I always like to do that. I definitely have some things I want to try in here. Normally in a system like this, you would grow determinate tomatoes only. There's an indeterminate one that I tried from Row 7 Seeds. It's the Midnight Roma. I have it outdoors in the garden right now, and they're just beautiful, but they also seem to be very, very prolific. So I'm hoping with some very hands-on pruning that I'm hoping I can keep it under control and not have a disaster in here. I also have some, and I'm going to be doing mostly heirloom seeds in here, trying a lot of the Baker Creek seeds. I've already grown a Sharontae's melon hydroponically. I'll put a link up above if you want to check that out. So I might even try a sugar baby in here, or one of the rich sweetness melons from Baker Creek. So we'll see. I'm pretty excited about this. I also really want to try growing one of my Ailsa Craig onions. They're supposed to be able to grow to like massive sizes. And so I'm curious to see if they'll grow hydroponically. I'm also hoping to bring one of my pineberry plants in and grow it hydroponically. Just started up the pineberry bed outside. I'll put a link up above to that. And I'm hoping to grab one of the babies that's coming off one of the runners and bring it inside and get a couple more plants going over the winter. So we'll see. Because I really, really, really want to try these pine berries. Apparently they taste like pineapple, kind of. And I just got to see what that's all about. I made a bit of a mistake, but I think I can recover. I was supposed to put the tubing in first before I put the level on. So don't do that. So I'm gonna go back and fix my mistake now. We do the short one first. It goes in the back hole. Then we're going to do the other one. So we'll see how this goes. So here, clearly stated in the instructions, is to put in the tubing first. That's because the metal tray is going to sit on this edge. So we need to get it in there first so the tray can sit on that. So the short one is gonna go back here. And then the longer one is going to go in the front. Doing that saves a lot of time. So do it right the first time. And then after you've done that, you can slide it over top. Now, the one thing I found the first time when I was putting the tray in is try and do your best to keep it level, because mine ended up going a little wonky and it kind of wedged. So just try and let it go down level. Then this is what it should look like before you put in the top screws. Going to add on the extensions now, not tightened all the way again. And I'm assuming once I get that in, we're probably gonna put the second level tray right there. So that makes sense. Okay, so these are the extension pieces. So they have the thick side, which lines up perfectly. And then the groove goes to the inside, and the thin side, which, I mean, it's pretty obvious that doesn't go that way. So we're gonna attach those and get this up a little higher. Okay, so those are attached. They're pretty wobbly, so you just gotta be careful. So now's where we're gonna get into using the pieces from the extension kit, because the other piece that came with the base kit is the top. It's got the wood on the end there, so we're not gonna use that. That's gonna need to go at the very top. So again, I gotta move everything and then get in there and get the other tray to go on the top. And we're gonna wanna make sure that the tubing side is on the side with the tubing. So you gotta be careful with this one because the lights are built into the bottom, so just be gentle with it. That's a step where it'd be handy to have another set of hands. Just make sure when you're doing it that you have, if you're the only one doing it, that you have the one side completely in both of them, and then very carefully feed in the other side. We need to get this all the way down to the control panel. So we're going to start feeding it through that hole. I'm just going to feed this guy in through that hole. That is the control panel. Is all the way in there. Best to just feed it down and through, and then get it into the channel to neaten it up. The last thing I'm gonna get done tonight is I'm going to put the top light on. On the top light there is a notch there, which will feed into the notch at the top. Okay, so that part was really hard. Well, really fiddly. So if you can get another person, it would probably be handy, especially because there's the light in here and you don't want to mess it up, but I'll show you where the issue was. So we want this tight, but I found, oh, I was in the garden today. I have dirt under my nails, so bear with me. It's a garden manicure. But anyways, so this metal was kind of pulling in towards this wood piece. So it was very hard to get this in. I just kind of gently flexed it. Like when it was out, I just kind of gently flexed it out a bit and then was able to kind of pull it apart. See how that kind of moves a little bit? And I just focused on the one side while supporting across the light all the way across. So my hand's over here and just kind of holding it up. And I got the one side all the way down, and then I was able to get the other side in. So at least I know it's snug now, but that was probably the fiddliest thing so far. Okay, I'm glad that's done. The screws are all tightened. Those were super fiddly up there. Being someone who's vertically challenged, I would definitely think if I was building the 3 level, this is only the 2 level, but if I was doing the 3 level, I would need help, especially to get that top light on and to get all the stuff done. So just something to keep in mind. But it's so pretty. Back to setting this up. Next on the list is getting all the power cables in and covering them up with the stickers. Okay, so I already fed that one in and the cord was coming out. They actually give you these wood grain. I mean, it's good enough. So you just do one at the top, one at the bottom, and then it stays in. So for the other light coming from the top, which is up there, I went down in through there, didn't go through that one, kept coming down here, didn't go through that one, just went underneath and through the bottom one. Now we are going underneath to start doing all of that stuff. Okay, so the water level is connected. Next we need to do the lights. I'm gonna use 1 for the main level, 2 for the second, and I will leave 3 empty because I only have a 2-level garden. So those are both in now. So what I need to do is get my little antenna, and that's actually gonna screw on the outside. We're a little close, so it's kind of blurry. But anyways, it's gonna go in there. So there's my little antenna. I'm gonna screw it in, and this is for the Wi-Fi. So we're just gonna put it around the side. So I found that a little bit fiddly. You're not turning the white part of the antenna, you're just turning the gold part, like you're just screwing that on. All right, so we're moving on to the water. Right, so that's in there now. Next thing we need to do is to get the water tank in here. So pump and everything is in there. And we need to get that tube into this, because otherwise we'll have water everywhere. Pull the base pan out, slide that guy in there, and then carefully, there, snug. It's really important to make sure this goes all the way over here and that that's in there, because otherwise you're gonna have water everywhere. Next is to get this tray in there and make sure that those pipes line up with these holes. And they actually stick down underneath, so it's important to make sure that they fit right in so that we don't have any leaking. So the one is in there, nice and snug. Okay, so next the kit comes with the 2 plumbings, the short one and the tall one. And because I am doing the 2-level garden, I'm gonna use the tall one, and I'm gonna save this one. I'm just gonna pop it under there in case I ever decide to extend this later and get another level. Important notes here, let's call it out. do not remove the extension plumbing filter. That's that guy. So leave it jammed in there. All right, so next we are doing the flexible tubing of this guy. And I'm doing the 2 levels, so I only need to attach the one. They mentioned to get the barb wet, which I did, to hopefully make it easier to get into the other end. So the 90-degree one, we're attaching this to this. That was easy enough. Done. And then we're setting it aside. Next, we are taking the tall drain pipe, this one, just the pipe, not that guy. And we're going to push it down the one towards the back, which is the drain side. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Because it's too small here at the top, easier to just come in from the bottom and go up there on the angle, and then it just sits right on top. Next we have to get this guy in, so this is going to go at the top, this is going to rest at the bottom. So same thing, we're going to come from the bottom up, and then this guy sits just on an angle in this notch here. So now we have to get this guy in. I'm going to go here with the holes and making sure that these line up and fit in. Just gonna stick my finger down inside and make sure I can feel the tube in both, and I can. So that's snug. It's all starting to come together. Okay, so now we have to get this guy in. So we need to start at the top. I'm gonna feed it in through the back hole. Taking this. I think we're stuck on the 2nd level now. There we go. And then I'm going to feed this manually down the bottom. Okay, we're stuck, and then I'm going to reseat this back in. We had more up here, so now I can get that. I think we're stuck on the bottom, which should be coming out here, which it is. Pull that down there. It's a little bit of feeding. And then this guy just kind of hangs out there. So now we need to get that tube we just fed down connected to the actual pump so it can pump the water up. Okay, so we need to connect the one we fed down onto here. So we'll wet this end so it's easier to get onto there. All right, and it's on. Wires off, and I'm gonna pop this back in. And then you just have to snug this into place and feed the wire out. Put it on that side instead, that's better. Leave that there for a minute. The tray is pushed back. This one is all the way to the left. So now we need to start getting the power done. So this on the power bar needs to fit through that hole in the bottom. So go ahead and take off the twist ties so you have enough space to feed it in. I'm planning to get this part above and sitting in the cabinet. So you want to make sure that the brick is outside. You don't want it inside the cabinet or it could overheat. Okay, so now we have to do some fiddly maneuvering because this needs to get into over here, this side forward. So it's kind of like in a D shape, not like this. We want it going in like this because you can see the prongs on there are a little bit wider on this side. So otherwise it's not going to fit in properly. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. Next thing is to plug this in and make sure that the lights come on and that we're going to see a red light on our water meter because there's no water in here. All right, here goes nothing. Ooh, the lights are definitely on. Not seeing a red there. I forgot to connect that to the display, which is why we have no display. So I was supposed to do that back here and I didn't. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, so that guy is in there now. So hopefully now we'll see it. Ah, there we go. Red light, good. Level I'm gonna do this before I start putting water in, because if it's not level, that's definitely an issue. I've had that issue before with downstairs with my AeroGarden Farm Plus. So I'm gonna go find a level. Okay, so I went looking, I cannot find the level anywhere, but I have two other ways that you can make sure if it's level. Well, one's accurate, one's not quite as accurate. I mean, ideally the best thing to have is a proper level, but if you don't have anything, this will be better than nothing. So one of them is to use, if you have an iPhone, I have an app on there called Measure, and you can use it to measure, or there's also a level. So I did that and it was at 0, so that's perfect. There, that's my low-tech solution. Water in a glass. Now you have to visually see. If it wasn't level, you would see that it was off, hopefully. But number 1, use an actual level. Number 2, if you have it on your phone, use that. Number 3, in a pinch, water in a cup. Okay, so now that we know we're level, we are going to add 1 gallon of water to each tray and make sure we're not leaking anywhere, because that would be bad. Here goes nothing. No leaking going on there. Okay, so that's flowing down. Still no leaks. So just to call out, this guy is still not attached, which is for the pump. We don't want to do that yet. So we got to make sure that everything else is working first. I need to go and get more water, and I need to keep adding water to the bottom here until it flows down and we have a blue light over there. Okay, so I'm still adding the water. It's still trickling down. And we have hit a blue light, 2 blue lights. And then I found my sticker. It had fallen off, so I put that on as well. If they all go red, then you've overfilled it. We're looking just about perfect right now. So now we can move on to the last one, which is to plug in my pump to the pump connector and start seeing the water circulate. So I don't actually have the tops on yet. I just wanted to make sure everything was flowing properly before I put them on. So into the control cabinet again. This one is just a round one. So into the pump. Give that a second to suck up some water. And then we should start seeing it. Oh, it's already going. Perfect. Oh, there we go. So that's flowing down to the next level. There we go. And done. So it's going to sit in there like that so we can get it open. Actually, I might flip that around. Do it that way so it's closer to the front. And then these guys just sit in between these notches. Put those in. I put this one here at the front because that's where my reader can go in when I want to test the water. Okay. For this side, we have a bigger cutout, again with a notch in the front so you can get to it. There we go. Actually, I'm going to switch this out. Put the one for my tester down on the bottom level. Now that it's going, we've dropped a light, so I'll probably add a little bit more water in, and then I just got to get it into the app and connect it to the Wi-Fi. And now that we're connected, the Wi-Fi light is green. I really hope you guys found that helpful and you're feeling a bit more confident in setting up your garden. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little overwhelmed at first, but as soon as you get going, the instructions are really good. And it's not too bad. And now I can start growing all sorts of things in my garden, and I'm super stoked. If you like that, go ahead and give it a thumbs up because YouTube loves that, and then it helps me reach more people. And let me know down in the comments below, do you already have a Rise garden? Do you have the personal, the 1 tier, the 2 tier, or the big version and you've got the 3 tier? I'd love to know what you have and what you're growing in there, and I'll be doing updates on how everything starts growing. The next video will be on planting it, and then I'll do some updates on how it's growing. I'm so excited to expand my growing season by having more space to grow food in. So as always, don't forget to go out there and enjoy the little things and make food grow. Bye guys.